Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder. Here's a 1v1 multiplayer game. We're on Fairyland map for this one. I'm using Russia and my opponent's using Russia for this one. I'm in green using my secondary colour. My opponent's using Russia in the top left in red. So yeah, I'm in bottom right using green. And I do like this map. It's a nice one. Fairyland it's called. I like the colours and everything, and it's a nice basic map. I like it. You've got an oil derrick there and one here. That's it. It's just a simple one oil derrick closer to each base setup. Although, to be fair, they are about equal distance. You could go for either, to be fair. I've got a rifleman, he's cleared the barrels away, and he's escorting my engineer to secure this one. So I'm sending the rest of my rifles to follow him and secure it, but I've got 3 riflemen heading this way, hoping that the enemy's lazy with their engineer protection, but they've got him well and truly covered. I lost 2 riflemen there. This guy, I'm sending him around this way in case the engineer moves back towards the base for safety. I've captured my oil derrick, the engineer's still there. My opponent's done the same and is then sending their engineer to the back of the map. My engineer's just left there. You shouldn't do that. Whatever you do, don't leave your engineer by an oil derrick, because it only takes a single rifleman to check. And it's quite often, if it's not defended, your opponent will eventually try and capture that themselves anyway quite often, and if they discover your engineer stood there, you know, it's a freebie. So move them away somewhere safe. If it is taken by the enemy, you can always recapture it with your engineer later. Now my opponent's got their engineer moving this way. And I've got my rifle guards moving into position, and I'm now adding rocket soldiers to my basic starting army. My opponent's gone for 2 refineries, same as me. I've just placed my war factory, so is my opponent. And their engineer's just hanging around. You see, if they'd have sent them this way, it'd only have died. So it's a better choice to leave them hanging around. It's not likely I'm going to check there. Put it that way. I've got my engineer here, and it looks like I've got my eye on the enemy oil derrick. I've not defended my own at all now. My opponent's got an APC, so have I. And here's the engineer making his way towards my base now. And my opponent's got some infantry in there. Wonder what they're up to. Maybe a grenadier drop, we'll see. And the engineer's on his way to his doom. I've got a rifle guard hidden behind the tree, camouflaged in green, ready to snipe. Goodbye. Now I'm engaging here, and my APC is about to find out there's very little there. And the enemy have got an APC. Now I've got riflemen in my base. Now they're not going to do anything against an APC, so my opponent's chipping away at them. And they've not deployed yet. Now I'm capturing the oil derrick, and my opponent has deployed grenadiers. Now they've taken out a power plant. I've just placed my service depot. And I've killed the grenadiers, but they did get a power plant, so I'm in low power, bad power situation. Now my opponent's going for the my engineer, but he's got into my APC and escaped. He's safe in there. Now my opponent's APC is on its last legs. So he needs a service depot. Let's see. My opponent has just started to build one. Something must have delayed them. Distracted them, delayed them, I don't know. Let's see. Power situation. I've recovered just. But I can't really build anything. I'm assuming it's another power plant I'm building. It's a barracks. Will this put me in low power? It will do. If I place a barracks, it's going to put me... Yeah, look. So I'm still suffering the effects of their grenadier drop, but I'm making one of my own. Look, there's 4 grenadiers, 5, and the APC is ready. Now, I must have sold something. I've got 2 refineries, look. So I've sold 1. And surely I'm back in low power. What did I just do? I've sold a barracks. Now, building... I've built a power plant. I'm building a refinery for my expansion. A very delayed refinery. So my opponent's grenadier drop, it didn't appear to do that much, but it has kept on having a knock-on effect. So I've got my APC, and it should be loaded with grenadiers. Yes, it is. There's a rocket soldier. He needs to move back. But I saved my my veteran rifleman. I moved him away. I should replace him. Any veteran units I get, I take good care of them. And now I've got a heavy tank, so this can move away. If I'm attacked, I'll fall back behind my oil derrick for view range, and while the heavy tank arrives. And there's another one, but I'm keeping the APC out of the way. Plus, if need be, it can rush back to screen my infantry if need be. Let's have a look at the early army values. I'm at 14,000 army value. My opponent's at 9.5. And my opponent, right, there's a mine layer. And here goes my APC, and it's been called to the rest of my units. And my infantryman there is shooting at the mine layer. And there's nearly 4, there's 4 heavy tanks now, spread along the front line. Here comes another round of mines for my opponent. And look, my APC is there, I've got no idea. And I'm attacking the mine layer. Got rid of it. I doubt I even noticed that. Trying to rally my forces, look, here we are. And my opponent's attacking. 13,000 army value to my opponent, 22 to me. So I'm placing defences as best I can. Got primary production here, getting my tanks into position because my opponent's got a nice blob. But you see the units at the back aren't attacking, which means my opponent only has this amount of units, like this amount of units in the battle. These guys aren't in the battle. So, you know, you don't do that. There goes my APC, hits a mine, and I lost the APC and 5 grenadiers in one pop. Now my opponent's fallen back, that's the right choice. Because they lost a lot of units there. But you don't fight in a blob like that. There's a perfect example of why. Because the units at the back aren't even in the battle. And then when your opponent kills the units at the front, then they fight the units at the back as they move forward. But without all those units fighting at once, your opponent's just... you're fighting with a far weaker force than you should. That's why you need your armies in a line so they can all attack at once. There's no point half of them fighting, losing the battle, and the other half fighting. It won't work. It won't work as well as if they were all attacking at once. My opponent had a decent sized force there. They could probably have matched me, and they've got production here. They could probably have done more. It was just they left them in a blob. And carried on fighting in a blob as well. But they're up to 15,000 army value, and they're attacking this oil derrick here. And I've been caught out with this force. Now I've got 3 heavy tanks, and they're screening perfectly. You see, all my units, even the ones at the back, are fighting. You see, there I'm trying to put them into a better position. And I'm attacking here at the same time because I know my opponent's drawn their units away. Now, they've defeated me over here and destroyed my oil derrick, but I've got a decent army storming into the enemy base, and there's nothing to stop me. Yeah, there are Tesla coils zapping my troops, but that's not a big deal. And my home base has a decent force defending it, so I've got everything under control. 10,000 army value to my opponent, 19,000 to me. And my opponent's still building defences, but they want this construction yard out of here. They have saved their ore trucks, look, 3 of them, very nice. But that construction yard needs to escape. Now, I've got the enemy ore refinery under capture. So it's the chokeholds in effect. Now, I've got 3,000 cash, my opponent's got 5,000 cash. So there's a nice capture. It'll be over 2.5 grand, I'm guessing. But I'm having to defend the chokehold, and my opponent's got defences, everything. And there's another capture, 1.5, I think that was. But I need to keep resetting the capture bar. There you go. And there's another infiltration. So my opponent's down to very little cash, and I've got 8 grand. And they've built defences to stop the chokehold, but I've ravaged their income and money supply, so the job is done. And now we've got V2s. Excellent. Now, it wasn't easy defending that chokehold with these defences and stuff, but I held on and took a lot of cash from my opponent, so that's done a lot of damage, and I've got this force defending my base still, so I didn't call everything to the front line, and now my opponent's called it. You know, I had V2s joining the front line. That was the right time for them to call it. You know, I could have continued and done more chokeholds on more refineries if I needed to, so my opponent was right to call it there, I think. But this is just going to be the first. I'm going to post a second replay with this one, but look at the army graph. It didn't seem to go like that army graph looks. There it appears like my opponent's behind all the way, but that it just didn't. Yeah, I suppose they were behind, but you know, they didn't have a weak force. They defeated me over here, caught me out nicely. If that army had have attacked here instead, it may have been a different matter. They could have done a base trade. But, you know, the army graph, that's deceiving. They did far better than that appears, is my point. But here's the earnings graph. My opponent was fairly stable with their earnings, just not a lot. Whereas my earnings, I was doing okay. I was above them. And look at that skyrocket in earnings from the infiltrations. Very nice. And my opponent's dropped from the infiltrations. That's very harsh. My finishing army, 2 V2s, few heavy tanks, flamethrowers, an engineer, and a basic amount of infantry, just over a company's worth. And I've got a 13,000 army value. My opponent lost 11 structures, I lost 3. My opponent killed 157 units, I killed 154, very close in kills, and my opponent destroyed 35,000 credits worth of my assets. I destroyed 39,000 credits worth of credits worth of my opponent's assets. Very close in that as well. Let's have a look at support powers. None in effect. I did have the radar dome, but as usual, I went for thieves. And I do have 2 war factories, so I'm getting there. I'd assume build an airfield. Let's have a look. Defences, infantry, and tanks. So I'm not there yet. And I've got 7 ore trucks. Hung on to my oil derrick. This one, although actually I lost that one. I captured the enemies quite early. My opponent earned 63,000 credits. I earned 83,000 credits. And I've got 8 grand because of the infiltrations. My opponent's got just over a grand. Basics. My opponent was at a very relaxed 19 actions per minute. I was at 29 actions per minute. And there's our scores, 326 to 549. And there's your basics, graphs, tabs, charts, etc. And I hope you enjoyed this one. But like I say, this is just the first of 2 replays I'm going to put into this post. So hang fire one moment and I will get to the second replay for you. This was my second to last game, and this is on a 1v1 multiplayer game, and we're on Pulverise map. This is one of J Megatank's new maps that he's made. And I've actually started to use this, and I didn't at first, I wasn't a massive fan of it, I'll admit. But, and I always liked the look of it, but it didn't stand out to me as a really great map at first. I knew it was a good one, but I've actually played on it a few times, and it is now quickly becoming one of my favourites. I don't know why I've changed my opinion on it, and it's not that I've thought it wasn't good at first, and now I think it's good. It's just that I really like this map now, which is, you know, it wasn't the case at first. I thought it was a good one, but I really started to get into this map and enjoy using it. So, you know, it's grown on me, this map. Definitely, I like it. So, and there's 2 flame towers guarding these 2 central oil derricks. And there are hospitals as well on this map. And they're in distant places, but they're close to your starting point, the hospitals. But, you know, if you want to try and take out your opponents, it's a long way off. But I go for the closest oil derrick, get my infantry protecting the engineer, and after he's taken the closest oil derrick and started to get earnings from that, I go for the flame tower and shift command the engineer to capture this oil derrick. Then I start to think about disrupting my opponent's attempts at capturing it. So I have just left a rifleman there, but there's the enemy engineer has gone for the hospital first. That's just strange. I would never expect that, but they have. Maybe I should... you see, I wouldn't have thought of going round the back, because I would have thought that they'd be there by now, before now. Look, I would expect them to be here. And then, but then again, going round the back would still be a good idea to intercept them as they go to the hospital. Because if I think they haven't taken it yet, I should be here then, shouldn't I? So, yeah, maybe sending an enemy rifle, sending a rifle scout round here is a good idea anyway. Whatever happens, send it up this way and this way, perhaps, or one of them. But if that engineer gets close here, might be able to have a snipe. And my opponent's taken his second oil derrick. I haven't taken the hospital yet, but he's on his way. He's on his way. And there's the second oil derrick. My opponent's captured it. And there's the flame tower. And my rifleman is oblivious. Now I'm getting my rocket soldiers to join the front line. And I'm capturing my hospital now. And when this is captured, it might kill the flame... No, it's not quite in range. Now, what's going to happen to the engineers? My opponent's engineer, anyway. Oh, look. It's caught that rifleman out. That's a shame. Just chilling out in between the view range in a safe area. I've got my scout vehicle now. My opponent's gone 3 refineries, and they've actually got a camo pillbox there and some medics. There's my engineer. Interesting to build medics when they've got very little to heal with them. But when they do, they will have medics ready when they do have a bigger army, I suppose. Here we go. Lost a rifle scout. And I wasn't sure if that meant enemy units were there. So I decided to detonate them barrels just in case. Small starting armies. 5,000 to me, 4,000 to my opponent. And one feature of this map I find is that the resources you start with are mined quickly. You need to expand with the standard build order, you know, quite early, as early as you can. You see, I've got these guys protecting the closest expansion patch here. These guys are protecting it in case the enemy decides to try and hold it. Because, like I say, you run out of resources quite quickly, I find. With the standard build order, I've got these ore trucks. Look, there's 5 there. They've mined it out already, and we're at 4 minutes and 45 seconds. And my opponent's actually got... I saw that ore truck, look. And why on earth it came here, I don't know, but it made me think, right, I'm getting there. And because it's early, I didn't expect many defences on an expansion. But there is no expansion here, look. I'm thinking, well, what's going on? Why was there an ore truck there when there is no refinery? And so I moved forward and found it, look, found the ore truck. get rid. And then I'm getting these guys to meet them and moving out, but I can see the capture. Have I got any reaction? No. So I haven't noticed then. I haven't seen now. They've taken it. I've seen, so I'm hunting the engineer now, but they did take... So my opponent's got 3 oil derricks, I've got 1, and my opponent's got a helipad. So radar dome and helipad, they're actually building a helicopter as well. They've got a little light tank group and a decent force of infantry. I'm at 11,000 army value, so's my opponent. They just moved ahead, in fact. And my army's spread out, split up. And there's my engineer, although by the time he's reached the APC, he may as well just capture that on foot. And we've got 5 light tanks moving in on a raid, a light cavalry raid, going for the flame tower. You want rid of that if you want to try and capture these central oil derricks from your opponent. You want rid of that. And there you go. He's taken out the flame tower. Now, my opponent's got tech, but they haven't expanded. That's a big mistake. What are they... And their tanks running into trouble, and they're damaging my APC. And I've got him. I want to send it for repairs, look. But let's have a look at the army value. 16,000 to me, 14,000 to my opponent. But I was going to look at production... Right, now they've got no second MCV. This is a big mistake. They're already dooming themselves. Because my army's going to be increasing in size and my expansions, and I've not even expanded very quickly, but I am moving up to my second expansion. This is being mined and well protected. And my first attack is against their oil derricks. And I didn't want to destroy them. I wanted to capture them. Let's see, have we got my engineer anywhere? There he is, getting into the APC. So I can go and take this. But there's helicopters, look, attacking. Missile fired back. They're quite tough, actually. That's 3 missile strikes. No missile troops close enough. And there's what I was hoping was an eco raid, and there's nothing there. So now as an eco raid here, I'm hitting the Ultra, but the artillery, look at that. Powerful. Camo pillboxes, flame towers working over there, so I can't capture yet. And I've got these 2 tanks. My enemy's got spies, and he's used them to disguised as my troops. But look, I'm running out of tanks. My infantry are dying. I just want rid of that artillery. Gone. Now I'm falling back, and I'm at 15,000 army value. My opponent's at 14. That was a very nice defensive effort. But this force here was supposed to meet up with a vehicle, but I'm having to regroup everything together. And look, the resources are being mined out here. So I need an eco transfer to over here quickly. And I'm moving my home base MCV. It's moving up this way. There, I've got a capture underway. But because there's helicopters about, I should be building... There, look, trying to defend themselves. Should be building flak trucks. Now the engineer needs to run. MCV, look how vulnerable it is. I should have used the APC to scout. Could be anything there now. My opponent's building these mechanics. That's 2,000 credits worth of mechanics, those 4 units. And their spies, if they're Britain, that's only 750, but they're still not using them. And look, they're trimming away my infantry very nicely. See, I've got a base defense at least. And there's an eco transfer. Building tanks. I've got small groups of units about, and there's a ranger on guard duty. And these helicopters are back and forth a nice bit. Repairing the tanks. You see, it's free for mechanics to repair tanks rather than using the service depot, but they need to repair. And there's some more attacks. and they've got my first flak truck. Just defeated it. So this force is moving up to defend what is about to be my next expansion. It's essential that I actually set up a refinery here because I need the resources badly. The resources I mined out at the start and my first expansion, they're still being mined by the, you know, by ore trucks, so they're not getting a chance to regrow. There's another helicopter down from my flak truck. Light tanks slaughter flak trucks extremely. One of the best units to fight them because they're just as quick and their guns puncture through their armour nicely. There's a yak from me. I've got anti-aircraft defences here, so I should set up a refinery about there. There's a power plant, more AA defences, and I'm trying to send this tank force separately on a raid round here to draw some defenders away, because the way they use those defensive assets worked really well, and they've got a second MCV, they're just not using it, and I've been waiting for them even if they had. There's my V2s, and they're taking out the AA defences. Yes, I'm shooting these mechanics. V2's getting to work, and I'm bringing these infantry to join this force because obviously I'm taking heavy losses. Flamethrowers and V2s, I want rid of this so that they can't build these, but they've got one. Look, they just haven't used it. Artillery, and my own artillery is giving them a taste of their own medicine. Their medics are working overtime. Big time. Artillery's still working, but yeah, this could have set up an expansion in the meantime, and they've got one barracks. Yeah, big mistake. Look at all that power they've got. And one barracks, one war factory, one helipad. They did so well with a good build order. This player could have done brilliantly. But there you go, they've called it there because of the constant pressure and that, but you know, it's very interesting, the fact that they didn't expand at all but held on like that. It was interesting, you know. And you got to see some tech. I used some V2s and yaks and stuff for a change, but they did well with the helicopters and everything, and you got to see the map. And like I say, I do like this map now. I'm going to start using it more often. You probably see it in my posts more often now because I really have taken to this one. It's going to be one of my favourites now. So I'll go through the graphs and charts for this one. This is second game, but look, that was a lot closer, this army graph, look. And I had a couple of spikes that were obviously essential in victories, but I was behind my enemy at that point, look. Very nice. For them to hang on and fight the way they did under that pressure is very good. But their earnings, look, they're just tailed off. You can't, you know, you can't not expand at all. They could have even had a shady refinery here or something, you know, a shady one that my infantry would have walked past and maybe missed. It's just, that's what they needed. There you go, finishing army. I've got an aircraft, some V2s, a couple of tanks, flamethrower troops, engineer and some infantry. Basic amount of infantry, 13,000 army value, so I didn't have much left. They fought well, very solid defensive fighting. But I lost 2 structures, my opponent lost 5, and I killed 63 units. My opponent killed 172. So there you go, it shows you how effective they were with the defensive fighting. I destroyed 27,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 41,000 credits worth of mine. And they destroyed less structures than I did, but still got, like, you know, a lot more damage. So it just shows you how well they did. Very good, that. Support powers. I've got paratroops and spy planes counting down because I've got an airfield. Although the game didn't go on long enough for me to use them, sadly. Production, another war factory. That's my second. I would probably have placed it at the front line. Building Tesla coils, infantry, and heavy tanks. As I always say, you can't go wrong with a good old heavy tank. And I've got 4 oil derricks because I hung on to all of them. And I hung on to my 2 and then captured 2 from the enemy. So I've got 4 oil derricks, very nice. And my hospital's still intact. I've got 8 ore trucks. And I earned 87,000 credits. My opponent earned 49,000 credits. And I've got 7 grand. My opponent's got nearly a couple of grand. And here's the basics. I was at 30 actions per minute. and my opponent was at 45 actions per minute, giving plenty of orders. But the scores, I was at 338 and my opponent is 425. So even with the fact they didn't expand at all and they lost, they got a better score and killed a lot more. They did well. You know, I can't take that away from them. Those scores speak for themselves about how well they did. It would just be nice to see them move up a level a little bit, expand more and get, I don't know, just, you know, move up a level and be a bit more aggressive attack, even with sticking to solid defensive tactics like they did. Maybe just a couple of eco raids, gren drops and air strikes, things like that, just to harass the enemy a bit, and while maintaining solid defensive fighting, and obviously they need to expand. So just to see him move up a level in skill could be quite good. This player could do quite well. You know, they did well under those conditions as it was, so it's quite impressive. But there's your scores, tabs, graphs and charts. And if you enjoyed these two games, give us a sub and a like. And thank you very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves. And until next time, goodbye.
Battle control terminated.